So folks, I openly admit I didn't have a lot of confidence in the new Dash as a commoner hero. I thought the lower health combined with her inherent variance would probably relegate her to mid-tier at best. But I was wrong, I was very wrong. She's actually a solid tier 1.5 hero. Boom Grenade into payload is dirty as all get out, and I also underestimated the free Pew Pew on Symbiosis. So today let's talk DBD in commoner and go over a list very similar to what beat me this week, twice.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Commoner fans! We know you're passionate about your format, and it's time to show it. Flesh and Blood Commoner videos historically underperform, not just in views, but in engagement. Show your content creators that Commoner matters, both by liking and leaving a comment on this and other Commoner videos to encourage engagement. See you on the tables, and go Commando.
Hey there, my Flesh and Blood Commoner folk. Thanks for tuning in for yet another Commoner video here on the channel. Today we're talking DBD, as I'm calling her, because I cannot say DataBase Dash. I mean, I just did. Congratulations, me. But try that 3 times fast. I'm guaranteed to screw it up. So DBD it is. That's what we're talking today with. That's right, a list that, as I mentioned, beat me twice this week on the Teleshars. Jamming random games, and that wasn't like they beat me 2 times out of 100 thing. It was like a 50% win rate, and that far exceeded what I thought it was. The deck is actually pretty good. You can do things, and in commoner sometimes that's what you need it to do, is things. All right, so before we get into the list itself, okay, I do want to note obviously the amazing background with probably horrible lighting, but you don't care about my pretty face. You should. It's very pretty. But all you really care about is the list below. So again, thanks for tuning in, dealing with all this stuff while I'm traveling. But we'll be back soon enough. And then next weekend, actually not next, this upcoming weekend in a few days is Commoner Crawl Tournament. That's right, it's Commoner Crawl weekend. So if you're anywhere close to the Pacific Northwest, probably don't want to fly for it. But if you're within driving distance, get there. It is over at TPK Brewing, a new place they're checking out. Supposedly it's like a D&D themed brewery, which sounds like almost a little too much nerdiness for me, right? In terms of like beer nerds and other game nerds converging, our powers combine, Captain Planet and all that, right? See, I can nerd out too. But no, it's going to be a great time. It always is. Shout out to Travis from Fat Foundry and of course Sean for doing the legwork and all of it. But be there. It'll be awesome. Commoner is really awesome. And then again, before we get into the list, I'd like to just throw up, Rev Up and Big Bertha, right? Just to put a topic into context. In the commoner format, we are often making, it's kind of what commoner format is, right? We're making suboptimal choices, which leaves a lot of it up to player decision. So if you compare Rev Up and Big Bertha, right? If you control a hyperdriver, this costs 1 less to play. When this is banished from boosting, put a steam counter on a hyperdriver you control. These both are very similar cards. They both serve as poppers. One is strictly better if your intent is to play it. Another is strictly better if your intent is, I'm going to put this in my deck, and if I boost it away, then I get an extra, or it's basically a better crankshaft. So these are very much equivalent choices in what you may be choosing to do, right? So as I go through the lists, my ask to you is that, again, you may have different choices, and I completely respect that, but, at least try and imagine why I might be including the dumbest include you've ever seen in your whole life, because I do get it. All right, so going into the list, again, we have DBD here. The loadout is pretty simple. Symbiosis shot, that I really underestimated the value of that free shot. I really did, right? Not having to have the resource to charge your Teclo pistol and sort of just being free, right? You get in kind of combo. Sometimes it happens. You get in combo mode in this game. You're like, well, what I want is I want 3 on there so I can go pew, pew, pew. Obviously, that's amazing. Why wouldn't you? If you have 2 on there, you can use Achilles and all that. But I just really underestimated the fact that you didn't have to have 1 floating at the end to pay your pistol and shoot. My bad. Good. It's really good. Okay. So we've got the accelerator. We have Goliath gauntlets because being able to hit on a payload when you have a boomstick out turns out that's pretty good. 2 hoods, well, 2 null runes. And I'm playing Talismanic Lens. I've seen others play different headpieces. You could just play armor. There's other things you could play. I like Talismanic Lens because you can de-opt and maybe set yourself up. And then, of course, Fest of the First Fist because that's a free payload. Okay, so the reason I keep talking about payload here is what you ideally want to do is go boost, boost. Now remember, you don't have a hyperdriver down or anything like that. It's not like OG dash. You're not starting anything in. So you're really relying on those zeros. And then remember, Dash's ability costs 1, right, to be able to get in your top deck item. Okay, and you can look at any time, so you can look in between your boosts, right? That's the idea there. And which means 1 to her to play a free item. And then a payload, so that's blue, right? So blue or a yellow for a payload or your vests, right? But the idea is to boost, get a boom grenade out when they've already maybe blocked a little bit. This is not a high armor format. And then you smack them with that dominated payload. They're going to take a hit, right? Even if it's only a blue. Ideally, it's not a blue. Ideally, it's a yellow or red. But that's damage. Even if they're only taking 1 or 2 off the payload, that's another 3 or 4 on the back end with the boom grenade. That's a lot in a 20 health format. Right, so the only other item I have is Backup Protocol Red. This has done pretty. I thought this card was garbage, and again, smarter people than I had to show me the light on how this could just bring back a red 0 to 60 with the stuff you had floating anyway, and you've got Symbiosis Shot that you don't need to feed, like the Teklo Pistol. I didn't get it. I get it now. It's actually pretty decent, right? Pretty decent. All right, we then have Data Link and Dive Through Data. Okay. Do you like how I said Data Link and then Data? Yeah. English language is super fun now, isn't it, folks? Dumpster Dive and then Expedite, right? Both doing their thing. Okay. So we got Pocket Rocket. I have 1 Junkyard Dog. This is in the sideboard, okay, as a popper. We have 2 Medics. We have a full rainbow of payload. We have Underloop. Underloop is actually in the sideboard as well. If you run up against something you think is going to go a little longer, like a Bravo or like an Oldhim or something like that, get you an extra boost, right? Or forces blocks, right? Whichever one it may be. I like it there. I then have Rainbow Zipper Hit, but Blue Zipper Hit is actually in the sideboard. Again, the blue side, like blue goes in the sideboard for, right, when you need blues. We have Red Throttles. Okay, that is actually a main board card. You could swap it out. Again, it's a popper, so you may not need it. Again, most of what you're using your 2 for are your payloads. Full Rainbow 0 to 60, and then Full Rainbow of Optical Monocles. I actually misspoke, because that was the only other item. Optical Monocles in there as well. My bad. That is an item as well. But a very good one. That if you can get it, and in the games that things do well, like if they get Optical Monocle, they can set themselves up for that. It's pretty good. Pretty good. So hopefully at this point I've kind of explained. I mean, this is not a super hard deck to play. It's definitely high rolly, which is why I'm not putting it in tier 1 or top tier or whatever you folks want to call it. But this deck's really cool, and it's got tricks. It's really too bad, or maybe good, I suppose, that the buff ones don't work in this deck. That is, kind of a bummer that that's kind of her thing. It's like, oh, all of a sudden everything gets +1 for the turn, surprise. So you can't combat trick that. But again, being able to throw down a boom grenade and just having it sitting there, and then remember, it's sitting there the whole time. So, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Can at least buy you a turn when it hits the table. Okay, and remember, it costs you 1 to get it down. So blue pays for that and everything you want to do. So anyway, that is my deck with the choices. Again, the list is below. It does have the sideboard separated out. You can't see it as well on FabDB. Sideboard set it out, so when you do it on your Talishars or whatever you kids are using these days, it'll separate it out for you. All right, so that'll do it for today for this. Again, thanks for bearing with me with the mic, the headset, the background, and all of that, but nothing else, folks. Go Commando.